हेलो। हाँ बेबी, मैं ध्यान करने बैठी हूँ, बाद में करूँगी। ठीक है। चला गया नाम लगेगा तो इस पर से पीछे जा ओढ़ो उसको। क्या शुद्ध शुद्धान की लैपटॉप में लैपटॉप
पता चल जाता है, इसी से तो आ जा रहा है। ये तो है, मेन कंप्यूटर है नहीं।
अच्छा, evening chanting, page 14 in the book. यो सो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो स्वाक्षातो येन भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावक संगो तमयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससंगम् इमे सत्कारी यथा अर्हन् आरोपिते अभिपूजयामा साधुनो भन्ते भगवा शुचिरपरिभूतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनता नुकम्पमानसा इमे सकारि दुर्गतपर्णाकार भूते पटिगह्नातु अम्हाकं दीघरतं हिताय सुखाय अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तम् अभिवादीमि स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि हन्दमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो उपभागनमकारं करोमसि नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स हन्दमयं बुद्धानुसतिनयं करोमसि तं खोपन भगवन्त एवं कल्याणो इति सद्दो अभुगतो इति पिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुषधम्मसारथि सत्तादि मनुस्सानं बुद्धो भगवाति हन्दमयं बुद्धाभिगीतिं करोमसि बुद्धवारहन्तवरता द्विगुणाभियुतो शुद्धाभिज्ञानकरुण हि समागततो बोधेसियो सुजनतं कमलं वसुरो वन्दामहं तमरणं शिरसा जिनेन्दम् बुद्धो यो सब्बं पाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं पठमानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं बुद्धस्सास्मि दासीव बुद्धो मे सामिकिस्सरो बुद्धस्सहं नियादीनि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि बुद्धस्येव सुबोधितं नत्थि मे शरणम् अन्यन् बुद्धो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सतु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं प्रसुतम् इद सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषु तस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं धम्मानुसतिनयं करोमसि स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिट्ठिको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको ओपनयिको पश्चात्तं वेदितव्यो विन्योहीति हन्मयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसि स्वाखाततादिगुणयोगवसेन सेयो यो मग्गपाकपर्यकालः मुक्ति विमोख भेदो धम्मो कुलोकपतन तदधारी धारी वन्दामहं तमरं वरधम्ममेतं धम्मो यो सबपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् धम्मस्सास्मि दासीव धम्मो मे सामिकिस्सरो धम्मस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्येव सुधम्मतम् नत्थि मे शरणम् अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं साधु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतं इद सभेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं सङ्घानुसतिनयं करोमसि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावकसङ्घो यदिदं चत्वारि पुरुषयुगानि अष्टपुरुषपुद्गला एष भगवतो सावकसङ्घो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अञ्जलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकसाति हन्दमयं सङ्गाविगीतिं करोमसि सधम्मजो सुपटिपतिगुणादियुतो यो अष्टविधो हरियपुगलसङ्गसेठो शीलादिधम्मपवरा सयकाय चेतो वन्दामहं तमरिया गणं सुशुद्धं सङ्घो यो सबपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं ततीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहम् सङ्घास्सास्मि दासीव सङ्घो मे सामिकिस्सरो सङ्घास्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि सङ्घस्सोपटिपन्नतं नास्ति मे शरणम् अन्यं सङ्घो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं साधु शासने सङ्घं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतं विद सभ्येऽपि अन्तराया माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा
Now we'll recite the five subjects of frequent recollection जो 41 नंबर पेज पे हिंदी में.
पेज 41
पाली में हिंदी में
पाली में हिंदी में हंदमयम अभिन्नः पंचवीक्षण पाठम भणामसि. आए हम बार बार विवेचन योग्य पाठ करें. जरा धम्मो मी जरम अनतीतो. मैं जरा धर्मा हूँ, मैंने जरा को पराजित नहीं किया है. व्याधि धम्मो मी व्याधिम अनतीतो. मैं व्याधि धर्मा हूँ, मैंने व्याधि को पराजित नहीं किया है. मरण धम्मो मी मरणम अनतीतो. मैं मरण धर्मा हूँ, मैंने मृत्यु को पराजित नहीं किया है. सब देहि में पिए ही मना पे नाना भावो बिना भावो. सभी मेरे प्रिय मुझे प्रसन्नता देने वाले मुझसे दूर हो जाएंगे, बिछुड़ जाएंगे. कम्मस्य कोमि कम्मदायादो कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटिशरणो यं कम्मं करिष्यामि कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादो भविष्यामि. मैं अपने कर्मों का स्वामी हूँ, कर्मों का उत्तराधिकारी हूँ. कर्म ही मेरी योनि है, कर्म ही मेरा बंधु है, कर्म ही मेरी शरण है. मैं जो भी कर्म करूँगा, कल्याणकारी या पापकारी, उसका उत्तराधिकारी बनूंगा. एवं अम्मे अभिन्नम पंचवीक्षितव्यम. इस प्रकार हमें बार बार विवेचन करना चाहिए.
Connected to 6B77382D.
We'll now listen to a discourse by Jack Cornfield on 10 Paramitas. Jack Cornfield is a founder of the Insight Meditation Society and Spirit Rock Center, and he was a former monk with Ajahn Chah for many years.
Six B77382D, disconnected, ready to pair. Connected to 6B77382D.
Of the heart, sometimes called the paramitas, the 10 perfections, the discovery or fulfillment of our own Buddha nature, the qualities of a Buddha that are inherent in all beings. And thus, for a great being awakening their own true nature, they discover that they have gifts to give without discriminating, and they avoid harm to beings, and thus they practice the perfection of virtue. And while practicing this, they discover the purpose of renunciation for perfecting their lives, and practice as well the arousing of energy and the patience with beings of all kinds, great and small. With loving kindness and compassion that's unshakable, they place all beings' welfare ahead of their own. Kind of goes through the list in the text. So these are the natural qualities of compassion, generosity, steadfastness, patience, wisdom, that are there to be found in every human heart, to be remembered, to be awakened to. Now, as the story is told, a long time ago when you were much younger than you are now, the Buddha was born in a period when there was a different Buddha named Dipankara. And being a young man at that time who saw this great sage, Dipankara Buddha, walking through the forest near the villages of his own home, he said, I would like to become like that man, like that being. And I hereby take a vow that whatever it takes to become a fully enlightened, wise, compassionate, awakened being, I will do that. And it's said in the story that the Dipankara Buddha nodded in some way as a gesture of acknowledgement to this vow. And then for 100,000 Mahakalpas and 4 immensities, the Bodhisattva practiced patience, generosity, virtue, compassion, and so forth before becoming the local Buddha of our recent time. Now, to understand 100,000 Mahakalpas, for those of you who haven't heard this story before, imagine a mountain that's higher than Mount Everest, 7 miles high and 7 miles long and wide. And to this mountain comes every 100 years a bird with a silk scarf in its beak that drags the silk scarf along the edge of the mountain, wearing it away. When that great mountain is worn down, that is 1 Mahakalpa. So 100,000 of those in 4 immensities. Don't even ask about the immensities. That you have to be patient and generous and virtuous. Now, if you think about it, it seems pretty tough. I mean, we have trouble getting through the week that way, right? Not to speak of Mahakalpas and immensities of time. The idea isn't really that we just have to, do that and be in therapy and do our meditation for hundreds of thousands of Mahakalpas or whatever your imagination is, but that the story takes us out of time, that it really speaks to a realm that is mythological or archetypal, that is timeless. Because these qualities don't come in time, but they are here now in every circumstances. In the eternal present is the possibility of awakening, of freedom, of greatness of heart and joy. Whenever we step out of the small sense of ourself, what is called the body of fear, and release that, we open to a genuine sense of peace and connectedness and love that is our true nature. So let me go through these qualities, and because there's 10 of them, don't try and remember them a little too much, but just sense them or feel them in yourself, reflect as they move through you, through the words, as pointing to your own heart, to your own true nature. The first of these is the perfection of generosity. And it's not something that we should do. It is simply a universal law. Opening to generosity means opening to freedom and to joy. Freedom because giving means letting go. Easy come, easy go. It's like that story I often tell of the wealthy man who died leaving this huge estate, and somebody said, well, how much did he leave? And the answer was, why, everything, of course. I mean, how much does one leave, right? So the idea of giving is the freedom that we don't own it anyway, and so why not play with it and offer it? And the joy of giving in this way, I would ask, do you know a really generous person who's unhappy? There's a tremendous joy that comes in giving to others. We are given so much. Our bodies, food, water, sunlight, rain, air to breathe, the plants of the earth that support our life, the bees, the earthworms, the ants, all those things that make it possible for you to be alive. You couldn't live without the bees and the earthworms and the ants. I mean, look in our supermarkets. They're like the food for emperors. The warmth of the sun, the warmth of our clothing from the plants and animals. I mean, even your kind of polyester with trees at one time, you know, it came from the sunlight and made the trees and then turned to oil and thereby became oil products. So there's a joy in receiving, being held as we are, and a joy in giving. Think for a moment of a generous benefactor that you have known, who gave to you time, love, respect, money. And as you remember them and bring them into heart, think as well how joyful they must have been to be able to see you and honor you and give to you, the blessing of their being able to give. There's tentative giving, it's called. The first steps, well, I'm not sure if I should give this away. Maybe I'll need it. I should put it in the attic. And then, oh, all right, better to give it away than keep it. And then there's brotherly or sisterly giving, when you give and share whatever you have in a more open way. You kind of learn to do that. And then it's called kingly or queenly giving, when it comes in certain moments that the joy of giving is greater than possessing anything, and so we give of the best that we have. It's not to say one is better than the other. Each day or each moment we find ourselves in one or another of those circumstances, but to feel how each one becomes bigger and more open and happier in the heart. Like Rumi, Lord, the air smells good today, straight from the mysteries, within the inner courts of God. A grace like new clothes thrown across the gardens, free medicine for everybody. Face to face with a lion, I grow leonine. Walking out of the Treasury building, I feel generous. Anyone still sober in this weather must be really afraid. So it's the spirit of tentative giving and sisterly, brotherly giving, and then the regal, royal giving, the pleasure of giving to others. So Gandhi was asked, how do you do so much? What motivates you to do so much for the people of India? And he looked quizzical, and he said, I do it all for myself, madam. It is not for India. What I do is for myself. Remember the story I told earlier in the year of Ramdas, who is now back home, as I mentioned last week, after being in hospital and rehabilitation for several months now from his major stroke. And when he was first in the hospital, the friends and people were trying to send things, and he works with this social ventures capital network, conscious business people, for some years. And they all wanted it. What does he need? Money, things, how can we help him? And Jai, who was taking care of him, said, no, we have everything we need. Don't send any more flowers, please. But then he thought about it, and he called them back. You know, the people who run the Body Shop and Ben and Jerry's ice cream and these other things. And he said, yes, send whatever you would like. Send ice cream, send lotions and unguents and potions and things, and send them to the staff of the hospital. So pretty soon trucks began pulling up and unloading ice cream and lotions and potions and all these things. And the nurses and the aides and the doctors all got these things, and they were all so happy. And they said, who is this coming from? Oh, this man up there. Ah. And all of a sudden Ramdas was treated very well. So you hear the joy of generosity. As Daniel Berrigan wrote, "Sometime in your life, hope that you might see one starved person, the look on their face when the bread finally arrives. Hope that you might have baked it, or bought it, or even kneaded it yourself. For that look on their face, for your meeting their eyes across a piece of bread, you might be willing to give a lot, suffer a lot, or even die a little." So that's the first quality of the heart, of our natural Buddha nature, when we let go. The second quality of the awakened and fearless heart is virtue, integrity. My teacher Ajahn Chah used to love to talk about this, the joy, the happiness of virtue, integrity. There was a time when a person's word was like gold, when we would swear an oath or stand on our integrity for our life, when we were known by others for our integrity. Tremendous power in this. "Do not think," said Margaret Mead, "that a small group of committed people cannot change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Without integrity, it's like getting in a rowboat and trying to row to the other shore while the line is still tied to the dock. All other spiritual practices, meditations, far out mystical experiences, all the kinds of things that you can have are literally worthless without a basis of integrity. I mean, in the simplest fashion, as we often say, it's really hard to meditate after a day of killing and stealing, you know. Spirituality is not about experiences. You can have all kinds of experiences. It's about the way that we live each moment of life. And virtue is our gift to other beings, to not kill them, to have a reverence for all forms of life. When the Dalai Lama was asked, well, what about shooting an animal that's in misery? And he looked back and he said, would you shoot your child, your brother, your sister? Wouldn't you care for them? A reverence for life. To not steal. As monks, we were not even allowed to borrow things without asking. In fact, we had to be so careful not to waste or take something that if you took something worth more than a nickel, you would forever, the rest of your life, never be able to be a monk again. That's how much care you have to take to respect the things of the world and to not create the paranoia and fear that comes when people are taking what belongs to others. To not kill or steal, to love life, to speak that which is true and useful. The power of speech is so great, and false speech and slander and gossip can make so much suffering. To be careful with sexuality. I always asked how many people in the room have made idiots of themselves in relation to sexuality, and you don't have to raise your hand because we know the answer. Tremendous harm can come from the misuse, the suffering, the misuse of sexuality or beauty and intimacy and love and caring. To not misuse sexuality or intoxicants, alcohol, drugs, the ways that we create suffering through addiction. And then the family problems and the auto accidents and the abuse that comes out of it. Virtue, to not misuse our words or deeds to care for other beings, not misuse sexuality or intoxicants, is basic humanity. As Spencer Tracy said, just know your lines and don't bump into the furniture. And this is kind of the basics for living our life. To not kill and not steal and speak what's truthful. And virtue then expresses our care and a certain joy of heart that we have for the beings of the world. I believe that standing up for the truth, said Martin Luther King, is the greatest thing in this world. The end of life. The end of life is not to be happy or achieve pleasure and avoid pain. The end of life is to speak the truth and do the will of God, come what may. It was like Chief Seattle, who spoke about us as being merely a strand in the web of life, or Martin Luther King when he spoke of this single garment of destiny, that when we care for others, this heart of virtue and integrity, we care for ourselves. The third quality of the perfection of heart, of your own true nature, is renunciation. And there's a big change as Buddhism comes to the West so far, anyway, in the outer form. Because in Asia, the renunciation is the renunciation of becoming a monk or a nun. And here as lay people, we don't want to just come and do devotional practice. I don't see people coming to Spirit Rock just in order to make offerings to me. You know, they want to come and give me food and money and things. It sort of happens in the temples there. You go and you pray, you make offerings to the monks or the nuns, and that's kind of it for the week. You hear a little sermon and you go home, and you hope that they get enlightened, and you'll be lucky enough in another lifetime to be a monk or a nun. Get enlightened yourself. It seems to be here that we are lay people who really want to do the practices of awakening. And so this renunciation then speaks to the natural renunciation of the heart, an inner coolness and simplicity that we all long for. We share this longing for simplicity to be able to be where we are, in our gardens, with our friends or our children, with our creativity and our work. How many of you would like to simplify your life? Raise your hand, let me see. Only half of you, huh? I don't believe it. I think it's probably more. The Buddha taught that the most basic form of renunciation is in the heart. It's the renunciation of grasping and greed that drives us, the driven quality. It's the renunciation of hatred and the grasping that makes us attack others or ourselves. It's the renunciation of fear, so that in the Bhagavad Gita, one speaks of acting without attachment to the result of the action, that you do the best that you can without grasping at how it's going to turn out. You give your heart to the world and hope for the best, but that's not your job. It's the renunciation of thinking that you're in control of things, and instead showing up with your heart to offer what you can. Something in us knows the wisdom of simplicity, and sometimes it's things. You know, my guess is that we could almost all of us in this room, participate in a huge garage sale where we took half the stuff that we have and we wouldn't even miss it. Just fill Spirit Rock Valley with stuff and get it carted away somewhere. So sometimes it's the stuff, but sometimes it's the spirit. As Thomas Merton says, to allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is itself to succumb to the violence of our times. It's the spirit of letting go. Renunciation is opening the windows and the doors, throwing out our schedule book a little bit anyway, and making room for grace, for what we don't know to come. So there's generosity, there's virtue, the natural integrity of the heart, there's the simplicity of our true nature. And then the next is energy. The wise use of this life energy and power that we have been given. The first task of this wise energy or effort is simply to be present. You know the sign in Las Vegas that says you must be present to win in the casino? It's pretty much that. Or Woody Allen put it this way. He said 90% of life is just showing up, right? So the first task of wise effort of our Buddha nature is the courage to be present. And only as a spiritual warrior, says Don Juan, can one withstand the path of knowledge. For a warrior, everything that comes is a challenge, while for an ordinary person, you see them as only a blessing or a curse. For a spiritual warrior, there are only challenges, and challenges cannot possibly be good or bad. Challenges are simply challenges. The courage of the heart to be present. And then the wise energy, when we are present, to use this life force for beauty, for benefit, for harmony. My teacher Ajahn Chah spoke about sitting at the foot of a mango tree or an apple tree and sorting out the mangoes and apples that were there. These are the worm-eaten ones, and the rotten ones, those go in the compost. And these are the good ones for eating and making pies and cooking with. And so here are the moments which we notice fear and contraction and hatred and delusion, greed. And we release those, put them in the basket, time to compost. And then the moments of clarity and the possibility of compassion and balance. We receive those and let them nourish the heart. It's the presence and noticing what's possible to grow in the garden in this moment, in each moment. It means also, this effort or energy, not to be afraid to make mistakes, a kind of perseverance, so that when Krishnamurti spoke to this wonderful woman, Vimala Thakar, who is one of his great Dharma successors, and said, you should go and teach. And she said, oh, I don't know, Krishnaji, I'm afraid I might make mistakes, might do it wrong. He said, no, you must go and make mistakes and learn. My favorite poem, I read it about once a month here, from Zen Master Ryokan. The morning's begging is finished. I hang my bowl by the side of the Buddhist shrine to play with the children again this spring. Last year, a foolish monk. This year, no change. Not to be afraid to make mistakes, to give ourselves, our heart, to each moment as best we can. As Rudyard Kipling said, if you meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, you will discover the secret of happiness. So the energy is the steadiness of heart without struggle, a certain openness and balance. The wise men and women of old had no mind to fight the Tao, and they did not, by their own contrivance, try to help the Tao along. It's that presence again and again, this moment, with your being, in your heart, in your eyes. And then comes the perfection of wisdom, which is also our true nature. The openness when we see things as they are, with a wise heart, like a lamp illuminating the darkness, or the clarity when you clean the windows and finally look out through them. The perfection of wisdom is not to see it as we wish it would be. That's more like Marion Woodman's addiction to perfection, the perfection of our ideas of how we should be and how others should be. It's rather the wisdom of openness to see things as they are. So the sutra on the complete and perfect enlightenment or wisdom in 80,000 verses that I've spoken about here, which is summed up in 8,000 verses and 800 verses, and finally in one syllable. The syllable that's the sound of perfect wisdom, the first and the last sound, is the syllable ah. And it's the sound of wisdom because ah is the sound of letting go, of opening. It's so simple. Wisdom isn't knowing a lot. It's the wisdom of our presence, our seeing, our respect in this moment. Like the old monk in the monastery where I lived years ago, when we saw at night in the dark sky a satellite go overhead. And he said, "What's that?" And I explained what rockets and satellites were, but then I realized he didn't know that the earth was round. And he was a wonderful, wise old monk. So many people came to him and he helped them and was loving and taught them. He didn't know about the shape of the earth, but his wisdom was so simple. He knew what it was like to live a wise life with one another on this earth. He was tremendously kind. From the Tao, you see if I can find this. When people see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. When people see some things as good, others become bad. Being and non-being create each other. Difficult and easy support one another. Short and long, high and low, depend on one another. Therefore the wise person acts without fighting anything and teaches without saying a word. I'm in trouble, as you can see here. Things arise and she lets them go. When things disappear, she lets them go. Things arise, she lets them come. Things disappear, she lets them go. She has but doesn't possess. She acts without expecting. And so when everything is done, she remains in peace. The quality of wisdom that knows that we cannot possess things in this world. We can love them. We can see them for what they are and nourish them and bring a respect to them. I remember when my teacher Ajahn Chah was asked by an older woman, a very old woman came and said, "I'm near death. I don't have much time." Oh, this is a new one who's come in. Thank you. "I'm near death, the other end of the cycle. Give me a few words of wisdom." And he said, "Listen, my friend, there's no one here, just this world unfolding. No owner of it to be old or young. Just the elements, sights, sounds, tastes, and smells that play themselves out. No separate individual to be born or die. Those who fear death are speaking the language of children. In the language of the heart, of the Dharma, there is no such thing. When we carry a burden, it's heavy. When there's no one to carry it, there's not a problem in the world. Don't look for good or bad or anything at all. Don't be anything. Nothing more. Just this moment. That's all." The wisdom that is the mirror that sees life and relates to it from a place of steadiness and knowing. Such a pleasure to speak with a wise person, to have that wisdom come from ourselves. But this wisdom is married with other qualities. Then the next quality of these perfections of our heart, of our true nature, when we let go and rest, this graciousness comes. And with it comes a quality of truthfulness, the truthful heart. Now in all the stories of the 100,000 Mahakalpas of Buddha's lives, and they're told in the Jataka tales, they're kind of children's tales of when the Buddha was a rabbit or an elephant or a prince in Benares, all these wonderful fables and stories. In the course of those lives, as one reads the stories, the Buddha, like you and I, did many bad things and many misguided things. But the one thing he never did was lie about it. That was the one thread through even the worst of those misdeeds. He spoke the truth about what was so. He let himself see what was so, as each of us can. And this truthfulness of heart brings light into our lives. It shines light like a lamp in the darkness when we lose our way. To tell the truth to ourselves about our bodies, about our minds, about our hearts. To tell the truth in our society about the arms race, the craziness of it still, about the racism of our culture, about the addictions and fears of our lives. To tell the truth. You know, Scott Peck's book, The Road Less Traveled, which has sold zillions of copies, begins with this simple 3-word sentence: life is hard. I think that's why it sold so many copies. And truthfulness just sees things as they are. Life is beautiful and mysterious and difficult, all these things. To speak what is true and helpful, said the Buddha. And when one is to admonish another, there are 5 qualities to attend to. In due season will I speak, not out of season. In truth will I speak, and not in falsehood. Gently and not harshly will I speak. And to their benefit will I speak, and not to their loss. And with kindly intent, with compassion will I speak. It's the quality of seeing what is true and responding with mercy, to rest in the truthful heart with compassion as well. The next of these perfections of our true nature, to see what is so, and in the midst of it, to find in our being the quality of dedication or determination. The awakening of the steadiness of the heart, and knowing the power of intention, that we can set our heart in a direction for a week or a year or a lifetime, maybe even for an eternity. One of the first dedications or determinations of spiritual life is wakefulness. To see things directly as they are. To be mindful means to know what is present without resisting or judging or grasping, without trying to make it be different. It's like the first noble truth of the Buddha, to see suffering, to see its cause, and to see happiness or the ending of sorrow. A second dedication is to compassion, the quality of the heart of the Bodhisattva, or being who is dedicated to the awakening of all life, so that even if the sun should arise in the west, the Bodhisattva has only one way. Even if the world is turned upside down, the way of the Bodhisattva is to bring compassion and care to that circumstance. Like Viktor Frankl, quote, "We who lived in the concentration camps can remember those who walked through the huts, giving away their last piece of bread and comforting others. They may have been few in number, but they attest to the last of human freedoms, the freedom to choose our spirit in any given circumstance." This is the power of this dedication or determination, to include a caring for all beings in every action or response. So that William Faulkner wrote, "Some things you must always be unable to bear. Some things you must never stop refusing to bear. Injustice and outrage and dishonor and shame. No matter how young you are or how old you get, not for fame, not for cash, your picture in the paper, or money in the bank, you just refuse to bear them." It is this quality of determination of the heart. And from this we find freedom of spirit and love and a transcendence of the circumstances of life, because our life is led from our heart rather than all the changing things around us. It is a dedication. And in the end, what matters to us? Did we love well? Were we really true to ourselves? As Ed Brown writes in his poem, "This last instant I regard you with all the tenderness and forgiveness I have withheld for so long." What matters but being true to our heart? What is this life for if we don't dedicate ourselves to awake? The last two qualities of this inner perfection of our own true nature as we let go and open, the ninth of them is loving kindness and compassion, the inherent connection that we share with all living, breathing beings. And it comes immediately to us when we release the body of fear, the sense of separateness. Love, which is our oneness for others, a wish for happiness and joy for everything that lives. And compassion, the quivering of the heart at the suffering of other beings. As it says in Corinthians, "If I speak with the tongues of men and angels but have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a clanging gong. And if I have a gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I am all faith to move mountains but have not love, I am nothing." More than a practice or an aspiration or something we do, it is a quality of presence, a nourishment that we bring to this being, our own selves, and to those we meet. And true love has a strength and an honesty and a depth to it in any circumstance, to hold one another in the heart of compassion. There's a story in Ram Dass's wonderful book, How Can I Help?, about a woman who, as a young Maryknoll nun, went to the high mountains of Peru, became a teacher and a school principal. And then the illness happened quite suddenly. The doctor said it was rheumatoid arthritis. They said it was ultimately crippling, and there was really nothing they could do about it. I wasn't sure I was being so helpful anyway as a teacher, and finally I returned and had surgery at the Mayo Clinic. And I did a great deal of praying in the chapel. There was a statue of Christ there with outstretched hands. I think it was chosen to inspire the hands of the surgeons and nurses. And I began to have my own hands operated on. I remember thinking that even though my hands were going to be broken and crooked, they might still be sacred to me, and I could use them to bring something to someone. So I sought to re-enter the world of the sick and live with the mystery of human suffering. I returned to Peru, but now at a lower altitude. Almost everything had changed, especially my attitude toward the people I was working with. Now I could feel their terrible poverty and pain in a new way. In fact, it seemed as if I was seeing it for the first time. How often I'd rushed around trying to solve people's problems without just seeing them. The pain in their faces, the insecure eyes, the nervous hands, all the expressions of the hurt inside. It was only when they touched me I began to feel a connection. And so my ministry changed. It became the ministry of walking together. Some of us with physical disabilities joined together to share our experiences and support others when we could. We would simply walk about as best we could. And the affirmation I got from them was so important. You're the same person as before, and even if you can't teach, we'd like you to stay. Many of the Peruvians we ran into with handicaps were deeply ashamed and hidden. We would come to see them and they would hide in their own homes. I think of Juan, a polio victim at 3 who'd been hidden by his family in their small mud brick house until we discovered him at age 8. His brother Julio took us there one day, and there was Juan, twisted legs underneath him, scooting around the dirt patio on a circular piece of rubber. His mother was suspicious and didn't want us to stay, for a handicapped child meant she was being punished for something. She was ashamed. We returned several times, and one time we found Juan all alone. His family with the rest of the town had gone on a religious procession. Of course, he'd never seen one, so we borrowed a bicycle and put Juan on it and joined in the procession itself. It was his first time outside the house, the first time he looked at people from a level higher than the ground, his first procession. His parents were momentarily afraid, but their attitude changed. And then in the next town meeting, we asked if we could raise money to send Juan to Lima for rehabilitation. And they liked the idea, and Juan went off to the big city. He had a hard struggle with much pain and effort, but one day he returned to his village. He was using braces and a cane. It was very hard for him, but as he began to walk down the streets to his home, people came out of their own homes. They appeared from all over. They were cheering and clapping and followed him all the way home. It was so wonderful. It was Juan's second procession. And so I see that even our suffering is not for ourselves. It too can have an impact in the world. That's how much of our lives can mean how much is possible. And I've been with people who would just weep over this message, and I have cried too. So this is the perfection of compassion. It's not that you make yourself something different than you are, but that you hold yourself and every being that you meet in this heart of mercy, of respect, of presence. And finally, the last perfection is the balance of heart, of equanimity, of resting in the crown chakra that sees the picture of the universe 100,000 mahakalpas and the changes of the worldly winds, praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, fame and disrepute, all changing day after day, all the changes of all beings. A friend who was speaking with Ram Dass recently asked him how that his words have come back. What has it been like for you? And he said, so much of it has been like a dream. I think of my old life and the things I used to do and people and where I used to go, and there I was lying in the hospital, hardly in my body, and it all seems so much like a dream. Do you think that's not so? Wait a little while, you'll see. It's here and then it's gone. It's quite amazing. And the quality of equanimity is then finding a peace in the midst of all the changes of life. I remember seeing in a museum in Boston a painting by Rembrandt, one of his most famous paintings, of Jesus in the boat on the Sea of Galilee in this storm with all his disciples. And the mast of the boat, there's this great, huge storm that Rembrandt painted, and the mast of the boat, of the sailboat, is like this cross in the middle, and there are all the disciples being seasick over the side of the boat and with these agonized faces. And there's Jesus standing in this ray of light that comes down from the cloud. It's quite a beautiful and remarkable scene that he painted. In the gospel story, where the apostles get trapped in that sudden and wild storm on the Sea of Galilee, we find a lesson for all who would make peace in the world. For when the waves first rose, the boat began to rock, The apostles worked hard and with hope in order to survive the storm raging around them. But then they lost heart and allowed the storm outside to come inside. It's easy to imagine them frantic, disconnected, out of control. In their desperation, they waken a peaceful Jesus who questions their faith and calms the storm by projecting his inner stillness, his inner harmony, his inner peace. Sometimes we who would make peace in the world, or more like the apostles, who allow the chaos of the world to come into us. What we might do instead is become like Jesus, to have that still center that nothing can disturb. And in that way, we are the peacemakers, persons who bring peace wherever we go. The quality of equanimity is not a removal from the storm or the world, but a caring for things from the place of a peaceful heart, of seeing the lawful unfolding of life and not falling under its spell in some one-sided way. Like the earth that receives perfumes and garbage equally, or like the rain that falls and nourishes the gardens of the just and the unjust alike, the quality of equanimity wishes well for every being without trying to change and control and manipulate. All beings are recipients of their own karma. Their happiness and suffering depend on their actions and not my wishes for them. This is the teaching of equanimity. We can love them and care for them, but we can't let go for them or awaken for them. We can't love for them. We can just offer them our love. And in equanimity, we rest in the peaceful heart. Now it is whispered in the ear at the time of death or in meditations, in the great teachings of the Buddhist tradition, the words to you, O nobly born, you who are the son or daughter of a Buddha, remember who you really are in these times of change. Remember the Buddha who has taken birth in your own form. Step out of the small self, out of the body of fear, and rest in generosity and kindness of heart. Rest in your own true virtue and wisdom. Rest in the graciousness of patience, the dedication and equanimity, and the compassion that you share with all life. That is who you really are. Trust it. Rest in your true nature. The last two qualities of this inner perfection of our own true nature as we let go and open, the ninth of them is loving kindness and compassion. The inherent connection that we share with all living, breathing beings. And it comes immediately to us when we release the body of fear, the sense of separateness. Love, which is our oneness for others, a wish for happiness and joy for everything that lives. And compassion, the quivering of the heart at the suffering of other beings. As it says in Corinthians, if I speak with the tongues of men and angels but have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a clanging gong. And if I have a gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I am all faith to move mountains but have not love, I am nothing. More than a practice or an aspiration or something we do. It is a quality of presence, a nourishment that we bring to this being, our own selves, and to those we meet. And true love has a strength and an honesty and a depth to it in any circumstance, to hold one another in the heart of compassion. There's a story in Ram Dass's wonderful book, How Can I Help?, about a woman who, as a young Maryknoll nun, went to the high mountains of Peru, became a teacher and a school principal. And then the illness happened quite suddenly. The doctor said it was rheumatoid arthritis. They said it was ultimately crippling, and there was really nothing they could do about it. And the quality of equanimity is then finding a peace in the midst of all the changes of life. I remember seeing in a museum in Boston a painting by Rembrandt, one of his most famous paintings, of Jesus in the boat on the Sea of Galilee in the storm with all his disciples. And the mast of the boat, there's this great, huge storm that Rembrandt painted, and the mast of the boat, of the sailboat, is like this cross in the middle, and there are all the disciples being seasick over the side of the boat and with these agonized faces. And there's Jesus standing in this ray of light that comes down from the cloud. It's quite a beautiful and remarkable scene that he painted.
सारांश इस टॉक का 10 पारमियों की बात कर रहे थे जैक कॉर्नफील्ड। जैसे हम सब जानते हैं, पहले उन्होंने बताया दान के बारे में कि किस तरह से दान से हम जो चिपकाव रहता है वो कम होता है, और दान का अपने जो प्रसन्नता है वो हमारे को एक अच्छा आदमी बनने में, अच्छा साधक बनने में मदद करती है। और 3 तरह के दान उन्होंने बताया कि एक तो हम कुछ बचा खुचा दे देते हैं, एक अपने दूसरे को देते हैं भाई समझ के, तीसरा किसी को जैसे राजा देते हैं कि जो बेस्ट चीज़ है हम उसकी अपने को दूसरे को दें। और देने का मतलब सिर्फ वस्तुओं से नहीं है, अपना समय, अपना ध्यान, अपना प्रेम, दूसरे को आदर, ये सब भी देने में आता है। फिर उन्होंने दूसरे जो पारमिक है शील की बात की कि हम शीलवान रहेंगे तो कितना उससे संभर मिलता है, आधार मिलता है, और अगर शीलवान नहीं है तो हमारी साधना का कोई बेसिस नहीं हो सकता, कभी आगे बढ़ने की कोई संभावना ही नहीं है। तो शील के माध्यम से हम इसको समझ सकते हैं कि हम दूसरों को सुरक्षा प्रदान कर रहे हैं, हम दूसरे हमारे से घबराते नहीं हैं और हम उनके प्रति अच्छा व्यवहार करते हैं, हमारे कारण किसी और को कष्ट नहीं पड़ता। तो एक बेसिक मानवता की बात है। फिर निखम्मा पारमी, त्याग की बात कि ये केवल भिक्षु बनने की बात नहीं, जो गृहस्थ लोग हैं वो भी नेचुरल अपने रिलेंसेशन की बात होती है कि हम अपनी आवश्यकताओं को कम करें, सादगी का जीवन जिए। और उन्होंने उदाहरण के तौर पे कहा कि अगर हम सब एक बार डिसाइड कर लें कि अपने घरों में देखेंगे कितनी चीज़ें हमें अभी पिछले कुछ समय से इस्तेमाल नहीं की, तो आधा घर खाली हो जाएगा। इस तरह से हमारा जो एक एक्विजिटिवनेस है चीज़ें इकट्ठे करने की, वो आदत को छोड़ना निष्क्रमण पारमी में ही आता है। इसी तरह से द्वेष को, राग को, भय को छोड़ना भी निष्क्रमण की बात कही जा सकती है। चौथी बात कही वीर्य की कि जो करेज है, शक्ति है, एनर्जी है हमारे में, और उसको जो अच्छा करने की जो क्षमता है हमारी, उसको इस्तेमाल करना उस स्थिति में। और उन्होंने अजान शाह का उदाहरण दिया कि जैसे वो कहते थे कि हमें शक्ति होनी चाहिए कि जो हमारी नेगेटिव क्वालिटीज़ है उनको हम एक कंपोस्ट की, जैसे एक सेब का पेड़ हो, उसमें कुछ अच्छे सेब निकल रहे हैं, कुछ बुरे सेब हैं, तो बुरे सेबों को तो आप कंपोस्ट कर दें, अच्छे सेबों को खा जाएं। तो इसी तरह से जो हमारे कुशल चित्त की चेतना है उसको तो हम नर्चर करें, और जो अकुशल चेतना है उनको कंपोस्ट के अंदर डाल दें, उनको दूर करें। तो इस तरह से वो भी एक जो वीर्य की आवश्यकता है उसके लिए। तो बेसिकली हमारे में स्टडीनेस रहे, बनी रहे। पांचवी उन्होंने बात की पन्या की, जिसका अर्थ हम सब समझते हैं कि वो यथाभूत ज्ञान दर्शनम, उसका मतलब है कि हम सम्यक दृष्टि से देखें सब चीज़ों को, ये समझें कि यहाँ पे कोई आत्म नहीं है, कोई सेल्फ नहीं है, इस तरफ एक प्रकृति के वश जो धातुएं हैं उनका खेल चल रहा है प्रकृति के नियमों के अनुसार। अगर जितना गहराई से उसको समझेंगे उतना ही हमारी प्रज्ञा प्रष्ट होगी और वही हमको आगे बोधि की ओर ले जाएगी, जागृति की ओर ले जाएगी। छठी उन्होंने बताई सत्य की पारमी, कि जो सच बोलने की जो उसकी क्षमता है, सच क्रिया की, उसका उन्होंने ध्यान दिलाया कई हर एक जगह कई उदाहरणों से, स्टोरीज से। और उन्हें इस संदर्भ में ये बताया कि बोधिसत्व ने सारे जीवन में जितने 5000 लाखों कल्पों तक जो जीवन जिया बोधिसत्व के रूप में, उसमें कई गलतियां भी हुई, कई शील टूटे, लेकिन सत्य का जो शील है, जो सच बोलने का है, जो वो कभी नहीं तोड़ा, क्योंकि वो सत्य की पारमी अगर पुष्ट होती है तो कोई भी और गलती हमसे सुधारी जा सकती है। और वो सत्य का उद्देश्य यही है कि मैं जो भी बोलूं दूसरों के भले के लिए बोलूं, सत्य बोलूं। फिर अधिष्ठान की पारमी, कि हम स्ट्रॉन्ग डिटर्मिनेशन करें कि जो हमें करना है वो करेंगे, और उसमें साथ भी बेसिकली यही है कि हम, क्योंकि बोधिसत्व का उद्देश्य यही रहा था कि जो भी मैं करूं वो दूसरों की भलाई के लिए करूं, दूसरे सब लोग उसके कारण मेरे साथ सब लोग भी जागृत हों। तो उसका उन्होंने दूसरा अर्थ भी लिया कि हम अंतर्मन से जीना सीखें, ताकि इतना निश्चय कर लें कि जो हम अंतर्मन की वाणी है उसको उसके हिसाब से जीवन जिएंगे। फिर मैत्री और करुणा की भी उन्होंने पारमी रही, हालांकि थेरावाद में मैत्री बनी जाती है पारमी में, लेकिन इन स्पिरिट तो वो बिल्कुल ठीक बैठता है कि हम सबके प्रति मैत्री का भाव रखें, सबका भला करें। ये सब हम लोग रोज़ कर ही रहे हैं चर्चा। और 10वीं है उपेक्षा की पारमी, उन्होंने अगली कही कि जो भी लोग धर्म आते हैं उसमें हम समता बनी रहे, संसार के जो तूफान है वो हमारे को विचलित ना कर पाए। एक पारमी उन्होंने छोड़ दी कांति की, वो शायद अधिष्ठान के साथ ही समझी जा सकती है कि जीवन में जो भी अप्रिय परिस्थिति हो उसको सहन करने की क्षमता वो हम बढ़ाए रखें। हम भी मैत्री और उपेक्षा का 4 ब्रह्म विहारों का अभ्यास करते हैं थोड़ी देर। पहले मैत्री, सभी प्राणियों के प्रति मैत्री, और उस स्तर तक पहुंचने के लिए जैसे कुशल उपाय के रूप में पहले अपने प्रति, फिर प्रियजनों के प्रति, फिर हमारी सुरक्षा करने वाले देवताओं के प्रति, और फिर सबके प्रति। मैत्री का अर्थ हुआ गुडविल, सबके प्रति सद्भावना रखना, दुर्भावना न रखना, कोई वैर न रखना। तो वही इसी तरह के शब्द हमारी मैत्री की जो गाथाएं हैं उसमें आती हैं। तो वही हम हृदय से, अंतर्मन से उनको चैंट करते हैं और विजुलाइज करते हैं जिसकी भी बात हम कर रहे हैं। तो पहले अपने से शुरू करते हैं, फिर माता पिता, फिर आरक्षण देवता, और फिर सभी प्राणी। अहं अविरोमि अव्यापज्योमि अनिगो सुखी अत्तानं परिहरामि। मम माता पितु आचार्या च ज्ञातिमित्ता च स ब्रह्मचारिणो च अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनिगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। भूखा देवता, भूमट्ठा देवता, रुखट्ठा देवता, आकाशट्ठा देवता, अविराहो अंतु, अव्यापज्जा होन्तु, अनिगा होन्तु, सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। अब समस्त प्राणियों के प्रति, सभी अपने पड़ोस में रहने वाले, देश में रहने वाले, सारे विश्व में रहने वाले प्राणियों के प्रति, और उनको भी इंक्लूड करते हैं जिनके प्रति कोई नाराज़गी हो, द्वेष हो, कोई किसी कारण से ग्रीवेंस है कोई, सब्बे सत्ता, सब्बे पाणा, सब्बे भूता, सब्बे पुंगला, सब्बे अत्ता भाव परियापन्ना, सब्बा इत्थियो, सब्बे पुरुषा, सब्बे अरिया, सब्बे अनरिया, सब्बे देवा, सब्बे मनुष्या, सब्बे विनिपातिका, अवीरा होन्तु, अव्यापज्जा होन्तु, अनिगा होन्तु, सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। अब करुणा ब्रह्म विहार, जो भी दुखी हैं उन सबको देख के करुणा जागना स्वाभाविक है, शुद्ध चित्त का ये स्वरूप है। तो हम भी जिन किन्हीं को हम पर्सनली जानते हों जो कष्ट में हैं, और जो हम सुना है, देखा है, समझ रहे हैं, आजकल लाखों लोग बीमार हैं, करोड़ों लोग घरों में बंद हैं, कष्ट में हैं, उन सबको याद करके शुभकामना कि वो स्वस्थ हों शीघ्र, सारे कष्ट दूर हों, रोग मिटने का सब बाधाएं समाप्त हों। सब्बे सब्बेतियो विभज्यन्तु, सर्वरोगो विनश्यतु, माते भवतु अन्तरायो, सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु, सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु, सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु। अब कृतज्ञता ज्ञापन उन सबके प्रति जो इतनी विषम परिस्थितियों में भी सेवा कार्यों में लगे हुए हैं, विभिन्न प्रकार के सेवा कार्यों में, जिससे कि रोगी स्वस्थ हो सकें और जो लोग घरों में बंद हैं उनकी आवश्यकताएं पूरी हो सकें, कानून की व्यवस्था बनी रहे, उन सब के प्रति आभार। अपने पुण्यों को याद करके, पुण्यानुस्मृति करके उनके साथ अपने पुण्य साझा करेंगे। अपने पुण्य जो भी हमने किए हैं, दान के, शील पालन के, प्रज्ञा जगाने के, सेवा भाव के, पुण्यस्य इदानि याना अन्यानि कथानि मे, तेषां च भागिनो हन्तु सत्तानन्तपमानका। अब मुदिता ब्रह्म विहार, जो लोग स्वस्थ हुए हैं, बीमारी से निकल आए हैं और प्रसन्न हैं, स्वास्थ्य लाभ कर रहे हैं, और भी लोग जिनको हम जानते हैं, जो लोग अपने सत्कर्मों के वर्ष सुख की परिस्थिति में हैं, घर पे कोई खुशी है, उन सबको याद करके हम भी उनकी प्रसन्नता में शामिल होते हैं और शुभकामना करते हैं कि प्रसन्नता बनी रहे, सुख संपत्ति बनी रहे, कोई व्यवधान ना आए। यथा लब्धा संपत्तितो मा विगच्छन्तु। अब उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार, सभी लोग धर्मों के स्पर्श पे चित्त की क्षमता बनी रहे, हम सब की, जो लोग इस समय सुख में हैं, दुख में हैं, उन सब की क्षमता बनी रहे, ऐसा शुभकामना, शुभेच्छा। और हम लोग समझें, सभी लोग समझें कि जो भी सुख दुख आते हैं अपने कर्मों के फल के स्वरूप में ही आते हैं, और उस बात से प्रेरित होके हम सब कुशल कर्म ही करें। तो भगवान की वाणी को याद करते हैं। कम्मस्य का कम्मदायादा कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटिसरण यं कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति। और ये सम्यक दृष्टि का भाग है, और सम्यक दृष्टि सचमुच में तब आती है जब हम आर्य सत्यों को अवेच्य पश्यति निरंतरता से देखते हैं। सभी लोग अपना दृष्टि सम्यक कर पाएँ ताकि दुख से मुक्त हों, ऐसी शुभकामनाएं सबके लिए। सर्वे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु, सर्वे होन्तु च खेमिनो, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कञ्चित् पापमागमः, मा किञ्चित् शोकमागमः, मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमः। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं, रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता, सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। सर्वमङ्गलं, रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता, सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं, रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता, सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सुखी भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादेमि। साक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि।